Hello everyone, Scott's here, and today I'll be showing you the basics of flying machines. Now, if you've been playing the game for a while, you've probably heard of these, but what are they? Well, they can be used to make many things. You can build vehicles with them, you can make elevators, all kinds of cool stuff. This kind of section of redstone is generally known as slimestone because of the use of slime blocks. But I'll explain various different parts of it, how everything works, and what you can do with it. Alright, let's get to it. Now, the first thing you're going to want to know is ticks. A tick is a measurement of time within the game. A regular tick is 1/20th of a second, while a redstone tick is 1/10 of a second, or about twice as long. So, ticks govern things like how fast plants grow and how fast fire spreads and other stuff like that. So in redstone, ticks have to do with the timing of redstone components. So the observer, this is a very useful component that's used in flying machines a lot. It will give out an output of 1 tick. So if I place this down here, let's see, it's got a face and a little dot at the back. The face is the input side, so if you update this face in any way, you can place a block on it, do anything you want. You can put water on it, have a plant grow over it. It will send a 1 tick pulse out the back. So I'll show you this. You can see it's flashing. Every time it flashes, that's a 1 tick redstone pulse. So if I grab some redstone dust here, put it just like that, just make a little bit of a line here, you'll see it will flash very briefly. Now, I'll show you the difference between 1 tick and more than 1 tick. So what happens is, so if I have a piston here, normally if I power this piston, it's going to extend and retract. Actually, I'll use a sticky piston to show you this. So it will extend and retract. This particular kind of button is around about 5 ticks. I'm not exactly sure, but somewhere around there. So yeah, it extends and retracts. However, if you give a piston a 1 tick pulse, so if I stick this out the back here, I update this observer, you will see that the piston actually extends and retracts too quickly to pull the block back, so it just kind of stays here. But if you update it again, it will pull it back. So yeah, that's why 1 tick pulses are useful. It makes it spit the block out. You can actually make a separate circuit that does this without an observer. It's called a pulse shortener, or a no, never mind. Called T flip-flop is what I was trying to say. T flip-flop creates a 1 tick pulse. So now that you know about ticks, I'm going to show you how the flying machines actually function. So to get things started, I'll show you just a basic flying machine. So I'm going to go up like this. It's here. Don't worry about this, I'll show you how it works in a second. So that goes there, and this goes here. So this is the basic two-way flying machine. Back before observers came out, it was actually quite difficult to make these, but now it's probably easier than a one-way flying machine. They used to use redstone blocks, but observers are far more handy for this kind of thing. So what I'm going to do here is grab a chiseled polished blackstone, which I think kind of looks like an observer-ish. But I'm going to duplicate this thing, only I'm going to replace the observers with these things so you can see how it works. So let's build it like this. There. So as you can see, the faces of the observers are facing outwards and the outputs are facing over the sticky pistons. This is important. If they're backwards, it will not work. But what happens here is, basically, if I put a button on here and press it, the button's going to break off and the piston extends, and this actually creates a 1 tick pulse. So perfect for example. But what happens is, when this piston is fired, this section moves forwards. But the interesting thing about observers is that they can actually sense if they've been moved. So this observer here is going to detect that it's been moved forwards, and it's going to send a signal to this piston, causing this to happen. So yeah, the reason both of them are moving together is because of the slime blocks. Obviously, the slime block sticks to both the observer and the sticky piston, which allows this entire section to move forward. But so you can kind of see it just kind of goes back and forth, just like that. So yeah, that's how they work. Now, if I go over here and fire the actual one, you can see it's kind of hard to see it working because it's quite fast, but you can see that it's doing what I showed it as. So each section pushes the other one forward and then pulls the other one backward. Then throw in a movable object here, I can stop it, and then if I update this one and send it back again. So that's just one kind of flying machine. There are many ways to build them, but the principle is the same in every one. One section gets pushed forwards and then it pulls the other one back. So let's just show you a few different kinds here. So this is one of my personal favorites. Go like this, and like that. And so as you can see, I'll once again replace these just to show you that it works. So that pushes that forward, that pulls that backwards. Now if I go ahead and make these observers again, you can see it works just like the other one. If I go ahead and stop it and update this one, the leg there. So yeah, that's that one. And also, this is another one that's slightly different, but it works the same. In this case, the two sticky pistons are directly on top of each other. So what happens here is, let's put those there. This one moves this section, this one moves this section. So you gotta see how it works. And if I go ahead and make the actual version, this observer has to face this way. Oops. And then this one's got to go here. And if I hit this one, see it moves along. Many of these designs can also be built sideways. So if I just go ahead and copy this thing, just like that. You can see that it works just as well sideways as right side up. Not all of them are like this, but a lot of them are. So there you go. It's just a few different flying machines that you can build. Now, the important thing to remember about flying machines is that the observers always have to have their outputs facing into the sticky pistons. So I'll just go ahead and build the other one again to show you this. So this observer goes here because this is an interesting property of slime blocks. Slime blocks do not look solid, but actually they are. They'll suffocate mobs and all that. So if I just replicate this over here, I'll see if I update this, this will fire. That's because the observer is sending its output down into this block, which in turn powers this sticky piston. This only works up to one block. For example, if I were to do this, you can see that it does not work because there's two blocks in between these. It only works if it's one. So that one goes there, and yeah, there's a number of different places you can, as long as it's facing into the right block, you can orient it pretty much any way you want. So this one doesn't have to go here. It could also go here, here, or here. As long as it's facing into the block behind this sticky piston. If you put it here, it won't work because this faces into the front. It only works if it's going into the back, top, bottom, or sides, not the front. So, yeah. Next, I will get to honey blocks and how they affect flying machines. Now, honey blocks are interesting. Came along 1.15. Now, the thing about honey blocks is they're pretty much the same as slime blocks. So, they both function the same, although there are a few fundamental differences that you have to watch out for. So, the first one, which is arguably the most important, is the fact that honey blocks are transparent, slime blocks are not. So, as you can see, this functions, and this does not. Just like if you had glass here or something, because transparent blocks don't allow signals to go through. Now, there is one exception to this, and that is if it's on top of the sticky piston, or whatever you're powering. As you can see, this actually does work. And if I were to remove this, it also works. It's kind of strange. I think it's called quasi-connectivity or something like that, but the observer has this weird thing where it powers a block through air. I'm not quite sure what causes this, but yeah, that's definitely something to watch out for. But as you can see, I will build a flying machine with honey blocks. So I'll build one of the ones I showed before. Just like that. As you can see, this functions just as well as the slime block one did. So yeah, that works. It also works sideways. On the other hand, if I were to build this one, you can see that it does not work because, once again, signals don't pass through transparent blocks. What you can do in this case is stick another honey block here and go like that. That way the observer is facing directly down, but it's still stuck to the slime block. Honey block, I mean. And you can do the same thing on the bottom. Just make sure the output is facing up. And you probably noticed this already, but whenever you place an observer, the output will be facing towards you. So, yeah, if you want to make them face up, you pretty much have to just you can place a block on the side and go like that, or what I do is I just press right click and left click at the same time, which reverses basically just replaces it in the other orientation. But if I fire this thing up, oh yeah, I kind of gotta use an immovable object because it will get stuck to the honey block, but this does function. So yeah, that's one thing to be mindful of. Oh. Okay, that was kind of weird. Maybe that is not the best flying machine to use. But yeah, that's definitely something you want to watch out for. Honey blocks do not transmit signals through themselves. Slime blocks do. So one of the main things you can use honey blocks for is if you're making a bunch of flying machines at once. So if I go like this, I'll skip 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. As long as it works, like the honey blocks do the same thing that the slime blocks are doing, and you have no problems with not being able to power through stuff, you can basically tile the same flying machine over and over again next to itself. So if I then put some blocks here, you'll gotta grab some redstone. Oh, keep forgetting about this. Put the redstone there. And if I just replace all these flying machines, kind of annoying to place like this. But then if I take a button and I go like that, you'll see all of them move at once. So this would not be possible with slime blocks because of the 12 block push limit, but I'll just let that fly off into the distance. Yeah, you probably knew this already, but in case you didn't, a piston, or sticky piston, doesn't matter which one, can push a maximum of 12 blocks at once. So if I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, you can see that that gets pushed. But if I increase it to 13, it doesn't go because, yeah, they can't push more than 12 blocks. So, yeah, that's two things to be wary of in flying machines. Can't go over the 12 block push limit, so you always have to watch out for how many blocks each sticky piston is pushing. So I'll just quickly show you this here. I'll build our original one again. This piston, each piston is pushing, oh, forgot that that was going to go. I'll just replace these with blocks. Each sticky piston is pushing 3 blocks, as you can see. Pushing and pulling are both the same. So, yeah. Each one's pushing 3, which means that you can attach up to 9 more blocks on each side, although there's something strange about this flying machine, and that is the fact that for some reason it does not like to work when there is 9 blocks on both sides. It works with 9 on one side and 8 on the other side, which is quite weird. I'm not sure why it does that, but if I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, that's the maximum that it can push. So it goes like that. And if I try to add another block on this side, oh, would you look at that, it does work. Could have sworn that that was broken before. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, I guess it can push 9 blocks on each side. I guess I fixed it somewhere along the line. Because before, they didn't want to work with 9 on each side. So I'm over in my testing world. As you can see, I've got a lot of stuff in here, but these are just a few of the flying machines that I've made. So, let's get one that actually works. All of these are duds because, well, it's a testing world. You kind of have to expect things to not work from time to time. Let's see. Do I have any flying machines here that actually function? Alright, yeah, this one does. So, this I designed for my tree farm, which you can see did not go quite as planned. I've still got to work on that. But, as you can see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 blocks on each side. And slime and honey are next to each other because they don't stick to each other. Probably should have mentioned that before, but I think it was pretty self-explanatory. But this is a self-returning flying machine, which I'll get to in just a second. If I send this thing off, see, it will go, and then it will come back and pull it. So there's that. Yeah, that one's, I'd have to set up again so that it works. let's see. Over there is a 4-way flying machine. I'm not going to get to those in this video because they are very complicated and confusing. Even I haven't fully grasped how they function quite yet. Somewhere around here, I have another one. Let's see, yeah, there it is. There's also a few more in this area. And this one should function, I think. Yep. Similar thing to the other one. So there's one. And then this is one I wanted to show you. This is basically just kind of goes down and it could strike the ground. These are just normal pistons, so. Yep, that's basically just an excavation kind of machine, or it could be used as that. So, yeah. Now I'm gonna show you how to make self-returning flying machines. So, popping back into this world, I'm going to show you a basic self-returning flying machine. Now, this one is actually designed by Ilmango. He is one of my favorite redstone YouTubers. I'll put a link to his channel in the description. You should totally watch his stuff, it's amazing. But what he did is this. Then, as I've done before, I'll build it first and then explain how it works afterwards. So this is a TwoWay self-returning flying machine. So how this works is, as this machine is flying along, this observer is going to be sensing that it's being moved like the other ones, and it's going to send a signal into this slime block, which in turn is going to power this redstone lamp. So this machine is going to be moving along, and this redstone lamp is going to be powering on the face of this observer. Now, while the machine's moving, it's not going to be affecting anything because this observer is getting powered anyways by itself being moved. But when the vehicle crashes into a wall or an immovable object, something that it can't get past, this is going to light up one more time because the observer sends an output every time the flying machine moves along by one. So when it hits the wall, these ones will have stopped, but this will send one more out, updating this and sending it back again. So that explanation may have sounded a bit confusing, so I'll just show you what I mean and how it works. So if I go ahead and send this thing off, I'll see the redstone lamp is flashing, and when it hits here, watch for it. You saw what happened there. As soon as it hit the end, the redstone lamp flashed one more time, causing this observer to get updated again. It also works with trapdoors. So let's grab ourselves a trapdoor here. If I send this thing off again, let's see, it flips up and down when it reaches the end. Oh, that's weird. Well, I thought it worked with trapdoors, but evidently it does not. Not entirely sure why that is, but yeah, it does work with the redstone lamps. So, yeah. And then if you want to make it do that both ways, stick an immovable object so it doesn't take off, all you have to do is replicate this on the other side. And if I send this off, as you can see, it will bounce to one side, and then off the other side, and back to this side again, and it will just keep doing that forever. Unless, of course, it's stopped on this side. Yeah, they're a bit hard to stop when they're constantly moving like that. But, yeah, so you can use the self-returning flying machine in a number of different ways. So, I'll show you another example here. Once again, you have to, if you're using honey blocks, watch out for the fact that they don't allow things to be powered through them. So the redstone lamp won't get powered through a honey block. So if I just make sure this thing can't move anywhere, then I'll go like that and that. So as you can see, I've got the observer and the redstone lamp in front of this one. So if I go ahead and place a stop for it, it'll go off, and it will return. So, just like in the basic flying machines, the concept is the same in all the self-returning ones. Redstone lamp in front of an observer with another observer going into it to power it. So, observer, redstone lamp going into one of the two main observers. There are other ways to make them, but those other ways are a bit weird and complex, so I'll just be sticking to the redstone lamp ones for this video. Now, the final thing that I want to explain is splitters. Splitters are very useful in large flying machines, and can help you overcome the block limit, push limit, I mean. So, how this works is, splitter is very simple. So, all it is build up a flying machine first. A splitter is basically just an extension of a flying machine used to either push or pull another part of it. So this flying machine here is typically what's known as the engine, because it's actually powering the thing. What you can do is, so place an observer and a sticky piston. Make sure they're both stuck to slime blocks. You can put them up here or over here, or you can put them down here if you want it to go the other way. But then what you can do is stick some slime blocks, then stick another observer, sticky piston, put some more slime blocks, and you can see what happens. So if I send this thing off, you'll see all of these sections will get pulled along. Now, only this flying machine is actually doing anything. It's pulling the other ones along. So all these are doing are pulling the rear sections. So if I stop this thing, you can probably see how it works. The observer here senses that it's been moved forward, and it fires this sticky piston, which pulls this entire line of slime blocks forward, which in turn pulls this observer, which pulls this section, and so on and so forth. You can do this over and over again and make the thing miles long if you wanted to. You can make trains in this way, but the splitters are basically just used to expand the flying machine and make it as big as you need it to be without having to worry about the 12 block push limit. So there's pushing splitters and pulling splitters. The pulling ones, which I just showed you, I find are quite a bit more useful because, well, you can start it and you can stop it, and it still works. On the other hand, if I were to build a pushing splitter, I'll just build it over here. In a pushing splitter, you have to make sure that there's a gap between the piston and the block that you're pushing. Actually, if you're pushing, it doesn't need to be sticky, only regular. So, because this one gets pushed forward, and then after it's pushed forward, it extends. If you were to put it here, it's just going to get stuck, because, okay, this won't be a problem, but if you had, say, a line of 12 blocks, this would only be able to push it if there's a gap, because it has to move forward, then push it. It can't just push it off the bat, because then this entire flying machine would be trying to push 12 blocks, which would not be possible for it. So, also another thing about pushing ones is that you don't have to worry about sticking them to slime blocks, because the whole thing is just getting pushed. So actually, if you want, these don't have to be sticky blocks. They can be normal blocks, because you're only pushing them. Make sure there's a gap. And if I send this thing off, you can see it gets pushed along. Now, the disadvantage to these is that if you stop it at the front, you'll see the gaps get removed, and if you try to launch it again, well, it just doesn't work. So, what you can do to fix this is, if I send it off, what you want to do is stop it on the engine, and that way these blocks will still get pushed forward and you'll be able to launch it again. So personally, I prefer pulling splitters to pushing ones. Pushing ones are nice if you're making vehicles where you don't want the sides to be sticky blocks, but pulling ones are nice because if something happens, it just gets left behind rather than stopping and breaking the entire machine. So, yeah. That's splitters. Well, that's all I got for today. I hope you learned quite a bit how flying machines work, and hopefully you understand them a little bit more, so you don't just have to follow a tutorial. That's what I always like to do. If you can help it, don't just build something from a tutorial, because then you're probably not going to find out how it works, and you're just going to have to memorize it. But if you can understand how it works, well, then you can start designing your own. You also don't have to memorize anything. So, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed, and subscribe for more content. See you later.